Swampfolk are a type of mutated human found at Point Lookout in 2277. Although hostile to the lone wanderer whenever encountered, there is evidence that they are capable of trade with some of the local merchants. Their physical deformities are the result of inbreeding coupled with radiation or exposure to other toxic wastes in the Point Lookout area. Although Point Lookout did not suffer a direct hit during the Great War, the effects of the radioactive fallout can be seen in the indigenous population that has slowly degenerated over the decades, and have since created a signature Point Lookout look, sporting sinewy, pockmarked bodies oozing with strength and pus. The Swampfolk are a violent and stupid bunch, and they do not take well to strangers. They have a rudimentary belief system and mark their territory with fetishes, straw dolls hanging from trees, and bone totems. Anthropologists have speculated these Swampfolk have a belief in the occult, and some postulate they may pray to a hitherto unknown entity named Ugqualtoth. Products of radiation and incest, although there are no female Swampfolk shown, the Swampfolk all act, look, and sound like stereotypical Hicks, from the odd ways they walk to their vocabulary, such as, "There you is," and "I'm gonna kill you." They are very territorial, and they are hostile to outsiders. Areas in which they live are decorated with bones, strung-up dolls, teddy bears, and mannequin heads, scavenged from Pilgrim's Landing. These decorations serve as both a warning to outsiders and as part of their own religion, which is based on worshipping unknown deities. Swampfolk carry out bloody rituals at the sacred ritual site. The Krivbekna, a book believed to possess an occult power, is kept there as a holy artifact. There are several variants of Swampfolk. Brawlers are large, but not as large as trackers and bruisers. They wear clothes that actually fit them, which is overalls and an orange shirt underneath. It is safe to say that brawlers are the most, quote, normal-looking of the Swampfolk. They are tougher than scrappers, but somewhat weaker than creepers, and are roughly on par with a super mutant brute in terms of durability and skill. Bruisers are stronger and have substantially more health than trackers, and, like creepers, are covered in blood. They wear a bloody Bill's mechanic outfit, with the Bill's tag still readable. Like trackers, they engage in melee combat and use axes. Even when unequipped, they can still inflict large amounts of damage with only their fists. In fact, bruisers have an even higher unarmed damage rating than Deathclaws. They also punch very fast, making blocking very difficult. Like their tracker cousins, they are slower than Deathclaws or Feral Ghoul Reavers, and lack ranged attacks. Likewise, their exposed bellies bear stitches, suggesting that Swampfolk have at least some medical capabilities. Scrappers are the smallest and weakest of the Swampfolk. They are skinny, with distended bellies, and only wear pants and boots. They have somewhat more health than regular super mutants. They also appear to have the least amount of mutation/disfiguration on their body, excluding their body structure, compared to that of the other Swampfolk in Point Lookout. Creepers share the same body structure as Scrappers, but have blonde hair and blood on their hands, chest, mouth, pants, and boots. They are stronger and have almost 3 times as much health as Scrappers. They are slightly more durable than a super mutant master. Trackers are very large Swampfolk, standing roughly 7 feet tall, who use axes to attack strangers in close combat. This class of Swampfolk will either attack the lone wanderer in hand-to-hand combat or use melee weapons, like axes, due to the fact the trackers have extremely swollen or clubbed fingers. This means it would be nearly impossible to fit their fingers into a firearm. They run with a hop in their step and are very strong and durable. Like the Bruiser, even when no weapon is equipped, they can still inflict large amounts of damage by using only their fists. Trackers are not strongly affected by the dart gun, as even after having their legs crippled, they can still run at close to their normal speed. Also, while they run, they show at least a small amount of intelligence, or at least instinct, as they put one of their swollen arms in front of their face, making it harder to score a headshot in VATS. They can survive somewhat more damage than a Deathclaw or Sentrybot, but are slower than Deathclaws, and also lacked ranged weapons. They also have stitches on their stomachs like the bruisers. Their iconic walking, or rather tiptoe, animation is an exaggerated interpretation of the hunter tracking its prey. During the development of Point Lookout, the original plan was for the Swampfolk to be a single model, and the production and animation of that model would be outsourced to another studio. 3 concepts were drafted for what were supposed to be the only character type in Point Lookout. But, due to a communication mishap, all 3 designs were shared with the outsourced studio and created. This was not caught until the work was completed on all the models and animations. The Swampfolk take inspiration from the films The Hills Have Eyes and an ironic take on the 1972 thriller Deliverance. The Point Lookout look alludes to the phenomenon of the Innsmouth look from the H.P. Lovecraft novella The Shadow over Innsmouth, which is the result of local contaminated pollution engaging in inbreeding as well as inbreeding with the amphibious monsters they worship.